Hello, soldiers. Welcome to another episode of Soul Mission. I'm your host, Aya Daniel, and I'm so glad to be back recording another episode of Soul Mission. This is going to be a short, sweet episode. It's going to be something that's been on my mind a lot recently. I feel like I've come to the other side of I've seen the light at the end of the tunnel with a lot of things that I've been going through and kind of coming out through the other side of it. And it's a really weird feeling because you don't realise when you've gone through something that you've come out the other side. It just kind of happens and you look back and you go, oh, I was in that way. I was in that state, or I was going through that like 6 months ago, and I'm kind of out and I'm doing okay. I'm doing pretty okay. And it's that transition that I think is so overlooked, is the journey to the transition. The journey is the hardest part. When you get out, you're fine. But it's that place when you are going through that journey, which feels so permanent. It feels like it's never going to end. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from moving on and seeing that light at the end of the tunnel and getting through things. So understanding, I think through my very many years of therapy, I came to understand that everything will pass. Everything will pass. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you've experienced, that feeling is not permanent. It's not meant to be permanent. That's not how life works. And I think what is so overlooked is how happiness fades and people don't realise. But when sadness is there, you feel like it's going to be there forever. Whereas, for example, if you were to buy a new pair of shoes that you've been dying to buy, and you buy it and you're so excited and you're so happy for like a week, and then you look at those shoes a month later and there's not much happiness, like, oh, they're just a pair of shoes. That happiness has faded without even realising. You just don't see the importance of the happiness when you look at that object. So when you're sad and you're going through something, it's that it almost feels like permanence. Like it's really, like you really know when you're sad. You don't really realise when you're happy and things fade, but you know when you're sad and it feels like it's permanent and nothing's ever going to change. And I think everyone needs to have comfort in the fact that life is just a series of getting through things. It's a series of various different struggles. And there's a book called The Power of Now that a family friend sent to me. And the first line in that book is "Life is struggling," which I was a bit like, oh God, okay. But it's very true. Life is a series of micro struggles and macro struggles. A micro struggle, little struggle, could be leaving your debit card at home, for those that don't have Apple Pay, leaving your debit card at home and not being able to pay for anything, for example. That's a really random thing, but like that's a struggle. That's just an annoying thing. Or missing the bus or missing the train and it's like a panic. That's a little struggle. Or, for example, dropping coffee down your newly made top. That's a little struggle. Equally to losing someone, losing a friend, losing family, falling out with someone, being heartbroken. Life is just a series of small, medium and big struggles, and they should all be seen in the same kind of way, that as you can get through a small struggle, you can get through a big struggle. Our minds, and as human beings, we are so intelligent. We are such amazing creatures in a weird way that we are able to, and I think anyone that's listening to this that feels that whatever they're going through is too much and you're not going to be able to get through it and it's too hard, that's a natural feeling and that's okay. And just know that I'm sending a virtual hug firstly, but know that you'll be okay. You are strong enough, no matter how weak you feel. I know that when anyone's going through something that's really hard, you feel so weak, you feel so defeated, you feel like, why me? It's very like, you feel victimized. It's okay. You're okay. You'll get through it because everything passes. Nothing in life is meant to be permanent and nothing in life is meant to remain the same. It's a constant flow. It's not linear. It's up and down. It's all over the place. And that's, I guess, you have to find some beauty in it. And there was an old Latin quote called amor fati, and that basically means love of fate. So it means loving everything that happens to you, which is so like, oh my God, how can you do that? Because you might be going through something really horrendous, which is something that I went through, which was really hard. And you might be like, how can I possibly love what I'm going through? It's almost an insult. But to love everything that happens to you for if you don't, you don't love life. And what he was basically saying is that, for example, in the animal kingdom, there is so much loss, there's so much death, there's so much betrayal. There are mums that give birth to their kids and then see you later. They don't see them again. Their whole idea of the babies is live on their own and figure out how to catch prey on their own and figure out the kind of wildlife that they're living in. And there's that immediate loss from the second that they're born. And that's just part of life, is dealing with all of these little and big struggles. And it sounds brutal and it sounds really hard, but it basically says, if you don't love what happens to you, you don't love life. And it's just about finding the meaning behind it. That's a whole kind of brain training thing where you have to like train your mind to appreciate things that happen to you and see a deeper purpose behind it. And there was a psychologist that did an interview, and he basically said that if you were to speak to anyone that has gone through a tragedy, anyone that's gone through something that's just catapulted them, brought them to their knees, like completely ruined them, they will tell you that they had to find deeper meaning in life. And that meant going deeper than the mind. And that meant finding hope, finding meaning, finding purpose and love. And day by day by day, you get better without realizing, and you come out this incredibly powerful person mentally and spiritually and just as a person in general. And that's something that I went through when Nellie, my auntie, was murdered. Just that experience was, and I've said this in one of my previous podcasts, it was transformational. It completely changed my whole entire life. The way that I needed to find meaning, it was like a search. I was searching on a hunt to understand the world again, because going through anything really hard and really traumatic and really unexpected, the world seems different. The colours and the colours of the world seem different. Everyone in the world seems different. You just don't see life as the same. You see the world as a really scary place. Before that, I'd see it as the safest place ever, as in just in general, like the world's not that bad, or like life's okay, like life's fine. Like after that, it just ripped the wall from over my eyes. And it was about finding that meaning again and creating a new person was created within me. And it's going on that kind of soul searching hunt and trying to understand the meaning behind the reason as to why that happened, but more in a more spiritual way, in a way that's like, okay, maybe this has meant that I found my purpose, which is now creating a podcast and creating a community where we can talk about mental health and talk about struggles, because all that people on social media seem to talk about is how happy they are and how great life is and how successful they are, and you know, everything. And that's what is so detrimental about and damaging about social media, is it's just encapsulated with happiness. And that's, you know, to even be constantly happy isn't happiness. That it's meant to be a fluctuation of feeling all different emotions, and that's what is so important. And that's what it is to be a human being, is to experience all different emotions as a human being. So I think anyone that's listening to this that's just having a really hard time, understand that it's not going to be like this forever. It just categorically won't. And I can't tell you when that's going to end, but it will at some point. Without you might realise, you might not even realise, and you might look back and go, oh, I was in a bad way a few months ago, but I'm actually feeling okay. Or it could be years, and that's okay. That's your journey. And don't compare your journey to others. Don't compare your journey and your time and what you're going through to others. It's all in your own time. It's your version of healing. It's your version, your body's way of getting through things. And that might be at a really slow pace. For me, very slow pace. Years. It's still dealing with the after effects of grieving and trauma and things like that. And it's about converting, trying to, ultimately what I found, the deeper meaning kind of side of what I found things is converting negative energy into something positive. And I literally see it as a chemical equation where it's like you have negative plus action equals positive. So I would turn all the anger, all the sadness, all the pain into, for example, the most intense workout I'd ever do in my life. Then after that, I'd feel like, okay, I feel a bit better. Or, for example, I'd turn all the sadness and the grief and the confusion into creating a podcast. And I would spend hours and hours on my podcast, because my purpose now in life is to help other people. My purpose is to is to reach out to other people and hear other people's stories and let other people know that they aren't alone and that going through things is a part of life and that it's okay. So it's about using those emotions in a way to make yourself better and to make you grow as a person. And that is all in your own time when you're ready to do that. So for anyone that's listening to this episode of Soul Mission, no matter what you're going through, you are okay. You've got this. Everything will pass in its own time. Just let that time come. Don't rush it. And I'm sending peace, love, and happiness to all of you. Bye, soldiers.